yuck, I don't like it. And it was something that I struggled with for a long time because I felt like everybody likes this. Like, surely this is something that I should care deeply about. And like, I don't. Actually, I don't. Okay, hi everybody. Thanks for coming back if you've been here before, or hi, welcome if you're new. My name's Mickey. I'm a therapist, and we talk about therapy things on this channel. Today, we're talking about ADHD and sex because it is a requested topic that I've gotten before, and it's also really important, I think. So we're going to get into some things that I, as a therapist, wish that you knew about sex and ADHD. We have talked about ADHD and other, like therapy-related things on this channel before, and I'm going to give you the same disclaimer in this video that I do in all of the other ones, which is that this content is meant to be broad strokes, education and learning. This is not therapy. It can't be therapy. However, if you want to find a therapist, I do always have links in my description for you to go find one of your very own. Along with that, all of the content in this video is intended to be, like a take what works and leave the rest situation. Not all of this advice will work for everyone, and that's okay, right? If there's something in here that's a helpful nugget to you, then that's great. And if there's something that you're like, no, then don't take that advice, right? That's fine. Especially with things like neurodivergency, it's important that we honor the unique nuance that we bring to the table. So that said, let's get into some things that I wish you knew about sex and ADHD. Thing number one is that your executive dysfunction will affect this area of your life too. We've talked on the channel before about the impact of especially working memory deficits, executive functioning deficits, and how that impacts our lives in like lots of other areas. So it makes sense that it would impact our lives here too. The thing that's important to remember is that our brain doesn't distinguish tasks in a way where like things to do with my partner are like special tasks that I can then remember easily, or that I just don't have working memory deficits around. Your brain views all things that are, task related as the same. And so if you have memory deficits, executive dysfunctioning issues, it's going to show up around that too, especially for folks who have hyperfixation tendencies, right? If you find yourself in the throes of a hyperfixation, it's entirely possible that you will forget that your partner or partners or like the concept of sex exists even. And I think it's just really important that we admit that out loud and acknowledge that, because a lot of people feel feelings of shame and guilt and self-judgment about it. But the truth is that it's just a byproduct of neurodivergency. And there's lots of workarounds that we can incorporate to help keep us and our partner feeling connected and prioritizing that about our lives if sex is even a thing that matters to you, because also it's important to acknowledge that not all people are interested in sex, and that's perfectly normal and valid too. There's lots of workarounds for an issue of this type. The one that I want to encourage people to be aware of the most is just keeping an open dialogue about this, right? Sometimes with neurodivergency, we can get sucked into this trap of like, I have to fix it or like make this behavior disappear. And that's not necessarily true, right? A healthy workaround for this in your relationship might just look like having that open dialogue, having regular check-ins, and being available to hear your partner's feedback about, potentially hurt feelings if you do forget that they exist, right? In terms of other like practical stuff though, this can also look like scheduled sex, scheduled intimacy time, where we don't have the expectation of sex, but we're just focusing on growing emotional, physical, other types of closeness with our partner. And this can also look like setting some kind of automated reminder for you. So like my favorite examples of this are sitting down on a regular schedule to, for example, watch a lovely Beducated course with your partner, or things like subscription services, sex toy subscription services, lingerie subscription box services, things like that. Anything that comes on like an automated reminder or as a membership-based thing can also be helpful to jog your memory. That is a nice opportunity for us to pause really quick and say thank you to this week's sponsor, which is Beducated. We have worked with Beducated so many times on this channel. You guys probably know at this point that I am their biggest fan, and I am especially excited to talk to you about Beducated today because we're going to talk a little bit later about introducing novelty and excitement and newness into your sex life, and Beducated is one of the best ways for you to do that. For those of you who don't know, Beducated is an online platform that is dedicated to all things sex and intimacy learning, and they have over 100 courses on their platform about sex and intimacy and relationships, and all of the courses are led by industry top experts, so that you know that the information is always reliable, which obviously we love here. Because I am a person with wicked ADHD, I have been really enjoying Bedukated's courses about kink. Aaron and I are not necessarily strangers to kink, but I am really excited to incorporate all the world of novelty that is kink, and Beducated has so many courses about them. So I've been really enjoying that as a way to kind of spice things up and keep things new and fresh. Like I said, I am genuinely, unironically Bedukated's biggest fan, and I am especially excited to talk to you about it today because Beducated is doing a limited offer that they rarely do. This is a special and new thing. I also feel very honored that I get to talk to you guys about a special and new thing, which is a lifetime membership. If you go and click the link in the description, you can get 33% off using my code MickeyAtkins33 of a lifetime pass, which means that you get a lifetime pass to Beducated for basically about the price of 1 year's membership, which is crazy. I'm so excited. I'm like genuinely unironically gonna like call my friends and all of the people in my life and be like, please sign up for this, because it's genuinely such a good deal and I'm just really excited about it. I've already signed up for mine. Like I said, I'm genuinely just such a big fan of Beducated, and I know that you guys will love it too. So go click that link in the description, get your lifetime membership for the price of a year, and also show Beducated some love for showing me some love. Thank you so much to Beducated for sponsoring this week's video. Let's go ahead and hop back in. Okay, the second thing that I really want you to know is that you need to find a safe outlet for your risk-seeking behavior. Please. I want to be super clear. This is the last place on planet Earth that we're stigmatizing anybody for, especially anything related to sex. Sex is a morally neutral thing that you can be interested in or not interested in, and that's all perfectly okay and fine. And especially the conversation around like promiscuity sucks. I don't like that. We're not seeking to reinforce that stigma here. And the truth about folks with ADHD is that it can mean we are prone to making sexually impulsive decisions. Like for example, having sex with folks that if we could go back and we weren't under the influence of being, ADHD impulsive, that we might not have made that choice. Or when folks will engage in sexual activities that they're really excited about, but they maybe haven't done the proper research for. Again, the point that I want to drive home here is not that this is a stigmatizing or bad thing, but just that when we combine ADHD impulsivity and the topic of sex, things can get a wee bit dangerous. So it's important that we're putting the appropriate safeguards in place, because you deserve safety, your partners deserve safety. We all want to be safe. So let's talk about how we can indulge this desire for essentially novelty and newness and excitement, while also making sure that we're keeping ourselves and everybody else safe. The first thing that we're going to talk about is exploring the world of kink safely. I just talked about this. This is something that I find really enjoyable and interesting because there is like a whole world of kink out there for anything that anyone could potentially be interested in. There is a practice in kink. And also the thing that I love about the kink community is that there are clear guidance and boundaries, limits that we want to stay within. There's a lot of discourse within the kink community about how to be engaging in this practice safely, respectfully, with the appropriate concern for things like consent and boundaries, personal and partner-based limits, and all of those types of things. So I think it's a really great resource, so long as we're researching it appropriately. Again, I just talked about Beducated, but I'm going to plug it again because all the information on there is reliable and fact-based, and it's a great way to learn about it in a sense that's not like boring. I really struggle to just like read stuff like straight off the internet. I really enjoy like video courses and having people talk to me. So that's a great resource if you're wanting to expand your horizons in that regard. Again, I want to encourage you to do your own research in regards to like the particular kinks that you're interested in, but for the sake of providing some examples, exploring kink safely might look like making sure that you have safety shears on hand if you're doing any type of bondage, never practicing impact play near bones or organs. Please, God, don't hit anybody's internal organs or their bones. Always make sure that you're having a conversation about aftercare before we get to the place where we're starting to experiment with things, meaning that we have a plan in place for what people need emotionally, how to take care of ourselves and each other after the fact. And generally speaking, if there is anything you're interested in trying, I would really encourage you to have an open and honest conversation beforehand about wants, needs, expectations, limits, fears. All of that type of communication is very important, like generally in regards to sex, but especially about kink. Again, we really want to be prioritizing that open dialogue and just like generally being prepared before we like do the thing. The promotion of safety around like these impulsive and novelty seeking behaviors might also look like having a 24-hour waiting period, or like a friend that you know is not going to judge you that you can check in with to say like, hey, I just met this person, I'm feeling very like swept up in this, and just having that friend hold the like be a mirror for you, essentially. Just kind of hold that up for you, give you that space to make that decision for yourself ultimately, but knowing that we can like send a voice memo to a friend really quick and be like, oh my God, I'm really excited about this. I just need to like put this somewhere. Even just the process of saying that out loud can sometimes help to temper that impulsivity just enough to give you that moment to breathe and like really think through, is this something that I want to do and feel okay to do? Also, it goes without saying, everybody needs to get tested. I don't give a hoot what your partner status is, what your activity status is. Getting tested is a self-care, self-health promoting behavior. And it's also a kind and respectful thing for us to do with our partner or partners, any prospective partners that we're going to have in the future. It's just very important. We should really destigmatize getting tested in this day and age. It's also really not that hard. If you have access to healthcare, please go get tested, especially even places like Planned Parenthood. You can get tested for relatively inexpensive. Okay, thing number 3 is that your sensory issues don't make you a bummer. I think this is really important to talk about, especially because sensory issues and ADHD are kind of a hot button for people. When you have a sensory sensitivity around something, it's not something that we can just like get over, right? And a lot of people experience self-judgment and shame in regards to like, am I not fun, or am I being a wet blanket, or am I a bummer? I'm just like a prude because I don't like this particular smell or taste or sensation or activity. And I think it's really important that we just have an open dialogue that like, no, you're not a bummer. And also, yes, you are allowed to set these hard limits around these things that you just don't like. For example, I'm gonna out myself. I really don't like kissing people with tongue. I don't like it. Just the smell of saliva, the texture of it, the idea that people's oral bacteria is now inside of my mouth. Yuck, I don't like it. And it was something that I struggled with for a long time because I felt like everybody likes this. Like, surely this is something that I should care deeply about. And like, I don't. Actually, I don't. And so growing into my adulthood and learning how to advocate for myself looked like saying, you know what? No, I'm just going to kiss you with my mouth closed. Or there's a whole lot of other places that I can kiss you that don't involve saliva. Setting those limits for yourself are something that, again, this is ultimately an act of self-care and self-love. And it's also a boundary that's really important for us to be respecting with ourselves and with our partners. So please know that if you have sensory sensitivities or anything, you're not a bummer, you're not being boring. And again, the fun part of sex, in my opinion, is that with all of our different partners, we get to have a very conscious conversation about what's interesting and fun for us. What about this particular interaction or this particular partnership is going to be unique and fun, and how can we customize this to be about us specifically rather than just performing these actions that we associate with sex because we think that we're supposed to. To give you a quick non-exhaustive list, this could look like an aversion to the smell or taste of certain fluids like we just talked about, and a workaround for that might look like containing those fluids with a barrier of some kind like a condom or a dental dam. Also, just practice safe sex, everybody. That's also very important. But this could also look like not having those fluids come anywhere near your face or parts of you that you don't want them on. It could also look like just cleaning those fluids up really quickly so that the smell or taste don't have an opportunity to affect us. This could also mean that you avoid certain types of sheets or condoms or sex toys or lubes or candles or whatever smells or textures are bothersome to you or just like really not your thing. Again, I think it's important that we approach the conversation about sex and intimacy with this attitude of like, we're customizing this for us specifically because it's about us. And so please know that there are no give-ins or like non-negotiables in regards to this activity. You're free to customize this and incorporate or not incorporate any and all of the things that are fun or, not interesting to you. You get it. You know what I'm trying to say. Thing number 4 is that you are probably going to struggle with distractions. I know that this is kind of bummer fucking advice, but it's true. And again, people experience a lot of shame and guilt about this. And I just think that it's really important for us to acknowledge. Again, having ADHD means that you have, say it with me, an interest-driven nervous system. And so when we are finding ourselves in a particularly monotonous situation with like, for example, repetitive movements, our brain can become bored very quickly, right? Especially if you've been partnered for a long time or you've been having sex with this same person for a long time. It's also common for people to have kind of like this routine. We've talked about this in regards to like other behaviors before, but it is almost like a dance that we just kind of get used to. Like, this is the part that I play, that's the part that you play, and we become very used to this routine. This is good, this is normal, this is like morally neutral, but also very common. And for an ADHD brain, this is going to mean that you get distracted really easily. On top of that, we should just acknowledge that our brains are distractible generally. And so even things like the squeaking of the bed or, the sound of your neighbor's dog barking, the sound of your pets running around inside of your house, a random whiff of a smell that you didn't expect, all of these can be things that derail your brain and then make it harder for you to be present in your body, to be present in the moment, and can specifically create a difficulty for folks around orgasming or about being engaged and bringing your partner to orgasm in reverse. And so all of these can add up to this picture of like shame and self-judgment like we talked about. And I just think it's really important that we encourage people to have an open dialogue about this. This might also look like, for what it's worth, not being able to turn off your self-analysis. This is a very common issue for folks with ADHD, particularly if you have comorbid ADHD and autism. We can have a lot of thoughts about ourselves and how we're being perceived and how other people think of us. And so that can be another issue here where, again, we're distancing ourselves from our experience in the body and we're more in our heads. So be aware of that. Also recognize that workarounds for this might not look like avoiding this entirely. Again, I think it's important with ADHD that we honor that it's a neurodivergency. It's not a thing that we're trying to like life hack our way out of. Addressing this might not look like trying to eradicate eradicate the behavior, but rather being accepting that this behavior is going to happen. And like, again, for example, having an open dialogue about this, having the norm with your partner that like, hold on, I'm like can we just take a break? Can we just like have a quick sec? Because like, I'm like out of my body right now and I don't want to be. So like, maybe we can dial it back. Maybe we can start with like, some different types of touch, or we can start like from the beginning again, essentially, and really try to help me get back into my body. Any partner who is a loving and kind and respectful person should be open and available and like happy to help you with that. For what it's worth, working around this issue might also look like incorporating other types of stimulus. So if you're finding yourself understimulated, again, this is not in a judgmental or stigmatizing way, but just in the sense that like ADHD brains need a lot of stimulation in a variety of senses. And so if you're finding yourself understimulated, incorporating audio of some kind, sexy playlists, audio, erotica, or even just like porn playing in the background, all of these can be things for your ADHD brain to sort of like munch on while, I didn't mean it like that, for your ADHD brain to think about while we're doing this. That again, just helps to find that sweet spot of like your brain being stimulated enough that you're not distracted, but not overstimulated to the point where we're feeling like we're gonna have a meltdown. This could also look like trying a blindfold or other types of sensory input, like silky, sexy sheets, things of different textures on your body, things like feathers. Again, impact play, kink is a great opportunity for us to incorporate new senses. You could also try new sex toys, new sex positions, sex furniture, lingerie, outfits. Like there's a whole world of things that we can incorporate and try. Focus on stimulating all 5 of your senses though. Touch and sound and smell tend to be the most helpful. Okay, the last thing that I want to talk to you about is to remember that no one thing is going to be your magic bullet and that that's okay, right? Because having neurodivergency means that you're going to need a sense of novelty. We've talked about this on the channel before in regards to like practical things like a cleaning routine, for example. Trying to incorporate or implement one cleaning routine and then assuming that that will be the thing that helps you reliably and consistently clean your house for the rest of time is just simply a naive and unrealistic expectation. The truth is that you're likely going to need to reinvent a routine or intervention essentially over and over again, and that's totally normal and that's totally fair. And especially in regards to sex, again, having this open dialogue with whoever your partners are to say that like, hey, I just, I know about my brain that like, I'm probably going to want to try new stuff. I'm probably going to want to experiment with new things. And also that this can be a really enriching and fun part of your sex life. So embrace that, honor that, recognize that in yourself, and really give yourself the space to like remind yourself, I guess, that this does not make you high maintenance or needy or difficult or again, a bummer. This is part of having a neurodivergency. And this is something that is very worthy of love and acceptance and making normal, quite honestly. Along with that, nothing will be your magic fix because you're not broken, right? I tell my clients all the time, you're not a lamp, you're not broken, you don't need to go to Goodwill, right? Like you're worthy of accommodations and acceptance and interventions, right? Like accommodations to help you feel like you're desired and cared for and to experience pleasure in the same way that everybody wants to experience pleasure sometimes. And so remember that a lot of times because we live in this it's not a neurodivergent world. In this neurotypical world, we can feel as though there's something wrong with us. And again, like we're reaching for the stars or asking for too much. And that's not true. That's not true. That's not fair. You are not broken. There's nothing wrong with you. Just because the world is not built for you doesn't mean that you shouldn't belong here, that you shouldn't take up space in it. You deserve that. That's very normal. And again, anybody who wants to be involved with you in this very intimate way should be willing to make those accommodations and like meet you where you're at. So again, I just want to encourage everybody to remember that you deserve love and pleasure and fun and sex if you want that. Again, just like the rest of us. So I hope that these are helpful. If you guys find them helpful or interesting, let me know. Let me know if you guys want me to talk about this again. I know that this is like not even 1/10 of like the discussion that we could have about ADHD and sex. So let me know if you guys have further questions. And that's it. Like the video. If you like the video, you can subscribe to the channel. We do make content like this. And we also do a fun pop culture moment. So I'd love to have you stay for that. And then share the video to help the channel grow and to help each other grow. And I will see you guys next Saturday. Okay, bye.